My name's Henri-Lee. I'm a licensed psychologist, and today I want to talk about building a backup plan to strengthen career resiliency. So a backup plan is basically recognizing a set of skills, education, tools that we might have as individuals that we can implement if our professional, educational, or career circumstances change. It doesn't mean you need to quit your job tomorrow. It doesn't mean you need to start a side hustle. That's not what I'm advocating for. I'm simply highlighting the benefit of starting to think through the skills you might have so that you can see future opportunities for yourself and see the value of how your life could evolve in terms of options in the future beyond what you're doing right now. A backup plan can be very niche, meaning that you are moving into a role that's adjacent to what you're currently doing, maybe in a different industry or a slightly different position, but it incorporates the same skills. Or it could be a more significant, broader change where you might end up requalifying in a different field completely, or you might end up starting your own business. So it can look very different depending on the individual. A backup plan has great value for everyone, but particularly too for people that might fall in one of these three scenarios. You work very long hours at work, 65 hours plus, you just don't have a lot of time, so work has taken up a lot of your day-to-day energy and potentially feels like a big part of your identity. Two, you're in a very competitive environment that's an up and out work culture, meaning there's just very few positions available above you and very few people will be successful at moving up and staying at the company you work for a long period of time, or even staying in your industry for a long period of time. And three, you spent a lot of time qualifying and getting certified in your profession. Those are three scenarios in particular where I think the backup plan can be very critical and helpful for lessening anxiety we might encounter as we're trying to move through careers that particularly fit those models. So we're all vulnerable to falling prey to sunk cost fallacy. But I would say in particular, if you're in a career that falls in one of those three scenarios that I just described, meaning it's very competitive, up and out culture, very long hours are required on the job in your position, or three, you've spent many, many years getting qualified to do the type of work you do, there's a greater risk of sunk cost fallacy. And sunk cost fallacy means that we're basically discrediting the benefits of making a switch because we put so much energy and time into what we're doing. So it's difficult for us to feel like we can change things or consider alternative options because we feel like we've sunk so much already into what we're doing. And then that therefore limits how we look at ourselves and how we can cope when there are circumstances that change because we aren't necessarily prepared to consider other options because we've fallen prey to sunk cost fallacy. So what does a backup plan require? It requires taking time to take stock of the skills that you have and recognizing that you can use those skills in a variety of different ways that might be rewarding to you and provide value to others. A backup plan might involve continued professional education, exposure to new learning experiences, or professional development to help you recognize your current skills and also see how you can diversify them and what other skills you may need to build on. What is the value of having a backup plan? First, it helps us reduce tunnel vision, meaning it allows us to see ourselves in a greater context than the work that we do day to day and helps lessen the risk that we perceive threat if we have a stressor at work that might affect our livelihood and make it difficult to perform effectively in completing tasks because we think our jobs are so important. If we have a backup plan, we're able to see ourselves in a much larger context, see the future options that could be available to us, and be able to more objectively handle the day-to-day stress in our work and build our confidence while we're trying to go through those particular anxiety-provoking situations. It also allows us to problem solve and feel more in control of the reality of the fact that nothing is guaranteed in our jobs or in our careers, and that circumstances may change and we have to be able to pivot and adapt. By having a backup plan, we're able to respond to that with a lot greater resiliency because we already have a sense of where we would go next and feel confident to take an action and move that direction, which would limit the risk of rumination or worry about what could happen in the future as we're moving through this period of uncertainty. A backup plan also allows us to broaden our identity and sense of self and see the flexibility of our skill set. and allows us to feel a lot more comfortable with being in unfamiliar circumstances and not necessarily knowing exactly what we're going to do, what we're going to produce, or how we're going to show our learning. A plan B allows us to think about our personal goals over time and how we want to grow professionally over our lifetimes. By making a plan B, we start to think about things such as, am I doing the job that I want to be doing? Is the category of work I'm doing meaningful to me? Is the task I'm doing meaningful? Would I like to consider doing more process-based work? Would I want to work alone or with others? Am I happy in the size of an organization I'm in? Do I think I need a bigger one, a smaller one? Would I like to be able to work in a family-run business versus a publicly owned business? Would I be interested in moving to a flat hierarchy? Would I want to start my own business? These are all questions about the environment and type and tasks of work we do that are relevant for our own growth. A plan B can also provide opportunity for us to develop a different skill set in a completely different field or area or industry that allows us much greater flexibility to be a hybrid problem solver. So when one has to enact a plan B or chooses to enact their plan B, they might gain new skills, new experiences in different industries, or a new trade that they can then apply to the original work they were doing to be able to be more niche, to solve more unique problems, or alternatively, they could potentially be generalists in both spaces. So what do I mean by that? So for example, I am a licensed psychologist. I am also a licensed attorney. I've had the privilege of being able to learn both fields and work both at the intersection of both fields and separately in both fields. And that has been a great asset in terms of my resiliency and feeling more comfortable with changing circumstances that could happen in my life. When we are only focused on the job we do and we don't necessarily have an alternative plan, even when we're not necessarily facing an immediate need to change our jobs or a certain stressor that's on the horizon, we are much more at risk of experiencing perfectionism, fear of failure, and social comparison. And that's a great reason for just beginning to think about having a plan B. Here are some steps that might be helpful for creating a plan B. It can be very difficult to find time when one is very busy with work or other commitments. If possible, try to carve out 15 minutes here or there just to see what opportunities are available with the current education experience you have, the qualifications, specific technical skills, licenses, or certifications that you possess, to be able to just see what alternative opportunities exist outside of the current role you might be in. This will help you get a broader sense of your current skill set and also help you feel more reassured that there are opportunities out there beyond your current employment. The next step for building a plan B and recognizing your skills would mean saying yes to an opportunity, class, or professional commitment that piques your interest but might feel uncomfortable or slightly anxiety-provoking to you, because this will allow you to be able to understand the diversity of your skills and grow your sense of competency in them and using them. Also consider asking friends, family, and mentors what other positions they could see you being successful in to help further expand your thinking about what a plan B could look like for you as an individual. Consider accepting recruitment interview requests and applying to new roles every 6 months to a year, just to be able to see what alternative opportunities could look like and what your market value is, and also potentially to identify, again, skills that might be useful to build to be able to enact other options in the future for yourself if you'd like to.